Hi everyone in English 1301, it's Dr. E and I'm here with your week 7 instructional video. So I am going to bounce around a little bit in this week's video, but hopefully in a way that makes sense to you. But of course you can always ask those questions in the Q&A discussion board or to me directly. But of course, as usual, I'm going to go over where to go and what to do this week, but I also want to hit on a few other things that I think will be useful. So let's just jump right to it. All right, in the content area, there are a few things I just want to kind of touch base about. And the first is that there is a whole module related to MLA guidelines. So if you look down the left-hand side here, there's a module titled MLA Help. And this I want to go over just briefly in a way because I've received some panicked or just emails that are showing that you are kind of racking your nerves over this whole thing that's MLA formatting. I just want to put your mind at ease and let you know that there is no expectation on my part that you will be an expert in MLA. I've been doing this a while. I'm not an expert in MLA. I can off the top of my head create citations based on particular kinds of sources, but not all of them. There are so many. There are podcasts, there are speeches, there are book chapters, websites, web pages. Off the top of my head, I don't know how to do all of that, but I do know where to go to find the answers that I need. And that's really what I want you to take away from this, is that regardless of what kind of formatting guidelines you need to follow for a particular class, for us it's MLA, for history it's APA, that kind of thing. There are tools and resources available, and all you need to know is that each one is specific. And I mean really specific, annoyingly specific when it comes to kind of where do you place the period, where do you place the parenthesis, all of that kind of stuff. And you have tools that will give you models and examples so that you can kind of plug in the information where you need to for a citation or how to utilize in-text citations, that kind of thing. Just don't feel as though you need to be an expert, because that's, I mean, I don't even think the people who work with the MLA organization know all of that off the top of their heads, okay? All right, so in the MLA Help module here, I have a few examples that will start to make sense further into the class, but what I really want you to focus on is the Purdue Online Writing Lab website link. And this is just what I encourage everybody to use. This is why you don't have to buy a separate MLA handbook. I think that's kind of wasteful when we have this website that is very highly regarded and well respected. So if you go to the website and look over on the left-hand side, this just, if you want to look at the overview, you can certainly do that. I don't think you necessarily have to, because what I really think you should focus on is the MLA guide right here. Okay, so if you, oops, let me close this video. Stand by 1 second. Okay, just know that sometimes videos will pop up and it is kind of annoying, but we'll roll with it. So if you click right here, rather than right here, my bad, MLA overview and workshop, and this should be something that's very familiar to those of you who watched the MLA video that was assigned last week, but it's just really important, so useful to go over again. So if you click on the formatting and style guide, you'll see on the left-hand side all of these options. Don't be overwhelmed. But the first that I think is important is in-text citations. And all that means is utilizing quotes to support your ideas, right? And there's a very specific way MLA wants you to do that. So there are examples here. So you have, if you scroll down, 3 of the same kinds of ideas utilized in different ways. So what, this is paraphrased information, right? This is a quote that actually references the author's name in parentheses rather than in the actual sentence, to ensure that the audience knows whose words those are quoting. APA is different. APA doesn't want the author's last name and page number, right? So it's just about knowing that these are things that we need to pay attention to when it comes to giving credit for sources that are anybody or anything other than us, right? MLA is pushing you to distinguish that, so that when because I know MLA, when I read your paper, I read your work, I get those subtle cues about, oh, this is a quote because this person has included a last name and a page number, or, oh, this is a website versus a web page because the person has put quotation marks instead of italics, or whatever the case may be. It's kind of a little language that I know that you're just having to pass through on. This is not a permanent stay for y'all on the MLA train, right? You can get off at the next stop. That's okay. All right, just close that. So then again, on the left-hand side, There are, different elements when it comes to kind of formatting a works cited page. There's a sample paper, which I think is really useful because this just shows you what an MLA formatted paper looks like eventually. Okay, so it has little notes here, reminders about, oh, this is what, the heading should look like. Here's where the header. So y'all, it is boring. Look at this. I want you to look at this because especially when we're thinking about our written responses in MLA formatting, there are some of you who are still trying to make it a little exciting with extra spaces here or larger font for this. It's just really boring, right? The exciting thing is your ideas, right? Not the formatting on the page. So if you scroll down, it just has just various details and information that are helpful. But on the left-hand side also, it shows you how to create a book citation, a periodical citation, anything for electronic sources. So I'm going to click on that. So if you scroll down, it tells you this is the information that's required. But if you don't have certain information, then you just skip it. I'm just saying that right now. But if you scroll down, if you're citing an entire website, this is what you do, okay? So here's your example. They usually give 2 examples just to make sure that if there are variations in the kind of source, you have that information. A page on a website, a specific page on a website, an ebook, an article on a website. So there's no way that you should know all of those things, right? So you have a source that's available to you that can help identify those. I'm going to scroll up, and I want you to note at the top of the page, there's also a citation generator. And what I want you to know about those is, by all means, use those. The only caveat, the only thing that you really need to understand here is that you still have to double check that it's correct. Right? You have to double check that the person's name is in the right place, the period is in the proper place. You haven't confused the date of access versus the date of publication, right? So MLA involves labor. Using MLA formatting, any kind of formatting in academic writing, it involves the kind of labor. I mean, it takes a long time to construct a works cited page. Just understand that and move forward knowing that. All right. So I'm going to go back to our table of contents. And the next thing I want you to know is that there in the syllabus and schedule area, there is a downloadable version of our schedule and then a visual. So I'm going to pull up the visual. And it took me a really long time to make sure all the lines were uniform because that was really bugging me on the page. It may have been bugging some of you. So I want you to just kind of take a look at where we've been and where we're going. So we read and thought about annotating, summarizing, and responding. We moved into quoting, paraphrasing, and summarizing, and giving credit, avoiding plagiarism. So we're really working on thinking about how to use other people's ideas to help support our own. That involves being able to summarize. If you can't summarize a text, you shouldn't be using it, in your own writing. We worked on, how to quote. We're working on these things with an end game in mind, and that is starting to use that in our own writing. Okay, so this upcoming week, what we're focusing on is distinguishing facts from misinformation. There's a lot of information available because it's so wonderful. We have the internet. We can use it to complete our research and find useful sources. The bad thing is there are a lot of not useful sources. In fact, there are so many unreliable sources. So how do we distinguish between what's a good source and what source needs to be questioned, right? And so this week we're thinking of it in that way. We're also going to be watching a video, a TED Talk with Christian Amanpour, a journalist who is very well regarded. And so I want to note that this is not a political TED Talk, but it is identifying certain things that go on in politics when it comes to this idea of fake news and information and how to access that information and what the difficulty is in that. So it really relates to our chapter reading. And then looking forward, we're going to think about food in new ways. That's the underlying topic we're going to address, the annoying ways people use sources. So it kind of helps for you to see the kind of sequence that we're working through and where we are in that sequence and how everything is kind of connected. Okay, I'm just addressing my notes, making sure I'm talking about everything because I have a tendency to get off topic. Okay, so let's go back to the content area. And in the table of contents, I'm just going to scroll down on the left-hand side and go to week 7. All right. So again, we're reading and watching something this week. You do have a pack back discussion with responses that's going to be due, the initial post on Thursday and your responses to one another by Sunday. I hope you're getting into pack back. I'm really enjoying it. I love, when some of you are choosing images or videos or things to support your ideas. I love the interaction. So I want you to just hopefully use all the functions that are available and make sure that you're just producing the best possible work you can. And I think Packback helps along the way with asking questions like, "Ooh, do you want to use this phrasing?" or check that spelling, right? So then you also have a writing reflection that's going to be due on Sunday. So I'm going to talk about that in a bit more detail. And that's why I have a mirror here. Reflection, we're reflecting on our writing, and then the participation quiz. You're watching what will appear here. And I do have something for you to review here that's about viewing my feedback, because in order to complete the reflection this week, you need to go back to your written response. I know it's been a while. You wrote a written response assignment and it was about your writing history. And so I've provided you with feedback and you need to be able to view that. So this document shows you how to do so. So if you click on that, it will show you exactly where to go and how to view it. And because it's detailed, it's a little bit clunky, right? You have to click in a lot of places, unfortunately. And then I've put my own reminders here. You need to make sure that the blue and the purple icons are enabled so that you can see my feedback and some of the grammatical input. And so what I want to show you is a past student's example. She's given me permission to do so. So this is a different kind of assignment. We did a reading journal in this class. And so this is what it looks like when you see the feedback and turn it in. You'll notice that right here I have the blue, so I'm going to unselect them all. If you don't have any of them selected, you won't see anything. And so you're going, well, I didn't get any feedback. I hear that a lot. And I'm going, no, you did. You just need to select the icon. So if you click on the blue, that's my feedback. The red is showing things that are quoted. So of course, these things are on several submissions. This title is in several places, that kind of thing. And then if you click on the purple, that is D2L, or I'm sorry, turn it in, kind of focusing on some grammatical things. So, I put a note here for this author, hey, Vi, why don't you make sure you're capitalizing the first letter of every word, and that's MLA formatting. If you scroll down, I just want you to note that anything that has one of these bubbles, if you click it, it will expand. Sorry, this is since I can't access all the information for this paper because it's been so long. If you click on it, it will give you a description of what is going on in that specific place. So just make sure you're keeping that in mind. Okay, I'm actually going to pause for a second and come back in a second video because I see that I'm peeking into the 15-minute, well, I'm not quite close to the 15-minute mark, but I want you to take a break, take a breath, and maybe take some time to access your feedback now, but you don't have to, and then come back to the second video if you would. Okay, see you there.